Welcome to Coins News. Before you spend another old dollar coin, stop and watch this video until the very end. Hidden behind the legendary 1972, 1974, and 1976 Bicentennial Eisenhower dollars are incredible stories, rare varieties, historic designs, and collector discoveries that most people never notice. While only certain rare examples achieve exceptional values, one small detail could make all the difference. Could an overlooked coin in your collection be more special than you ever imagined? Stay with us as we uncover the secrets, the history, and the hidden mysteries behind America's most fascinating Eisenhower dollars. This is a journey every coin collector and every curious viewer won't want to miss. Let's right now. Step 1. Have you ever imagined that a heavy silver-colored dollar resting quietly in an old drawer could carry decades of American history within its metal? At first glance, the Eisenhower dollar appears to be just another old coin, but the moment you begin exploring its story, an extraordinary journey unfolds. This is not simply the tale of money. It is the story of a nation recovering from tragedy, celebrating technological achievement, honoring one of its greatest military leaders, and preserving its identity through a single piece of metal. Every line engraved on the coin, from the proud word liberty to the inspiring phrase, "In God we trust," represents values that Americans wanted future generations to remember. Even the majestic eagle on the reverse was chosen for a reason far greater than decoration. Behind every detail lies a chapter of history connected with courage, sacrifice, exploration, and national pride. While countless people have spent these coins without a second thought, collectors understand that every surviving example has traveled through decades of economic change, family memories, and historical events. Some coins became ordinary pocket change, while a handful survived in remarkable condition, later becoming treasures sought by collectors around the world. The story of the Eisenhower dollar begins long before it ever reached a bank, stretching back through the life of the man whose portrait appears on its front and the remarkable era that inspired its creation. Long before this remarkable dollar entered circulation, Dwight David Eisenhower had already secured a permanent place in American history. Known worldwide as a brilliant military commander during the Second World War, Eisenhower earned respect through leadership, calm decision-making, and an unwavering sense of responsibility during one of humanity's darkest periods. After the war, he continued serving his country, eventually becoming the 34th President of the United States. His presidency was marked by stability, economic growth, and ambitious national projects that reshaped modern America, including the expansion of the interstate highway system. When he passed away in 1969, millions of Americans believed his contributions deserved lasting recognition. Lawmakers and historians agreed that his legacy should not fade with time, and discussions soon began about honoring him on a circulating coin that ordinary citizens could carry every day. This decision transformed a national hero into a permanent symbol engraved in metal, allowing future generations to remember not only his achievements, but also the ideals of duty, determination, and public service that defined his life. The Eisenhower dollar, therefore, became far more than currency. It became a moving memorial carried from one generation to another. Imagine the atmosphere inside the United States Mint as artists, sculptors, and engravers worked tirelessly to create a design worthy of such an influential figure. Their task was enormous because they were not simply designing a coin, they were creating an object that would represent American history for decades. Every curve of Eisenhower's portrait had to express confidence without arrogance, strength without aggression, and wisdom without losing the familiar human character people remembered from photographs. Equally important was the reverse design, where the magnificent eagle descending toward the moon was chosen as a tribute to one of the greatest achievements in human history, the Apollo 11 lunar landing. Rather than inventing a completely unrelated symbol, the designers drew inspiration from the official Apollo 11 mission insignia, allowing the coin to celebrate both the nation's military hero and its triumph in space exploration. In this way, two defining moments of 20th century America became permanently united on opposite sides of a single dollar, creating one of the most meaningful designs ever placed into circulation. Then came the historic year of 1971, when the first Eisenhower dollars officially entered circulation. Expectations were enormous because this was the first regular circulating United States dollar coin produced after the peace dollar series had ended decades earlier. Americans were curious to hold the nation's largest circulating coin once again, and banks quickly distributed the heavy copper-nickel dollars across the country. For many people, the coin represented excitement and patriotism, while businesses appreciated its durability. Yet the coin's large size and significant weight also created unexpected challenges. Many citizens found it inconvenient to carry in pockets, vending machines struggled to accommodate it, and everyday transactions often favored lighter paper currency instead. Despite these practical obstacles, the Eisenhower dollar earned an important place in American numismatic history because it represented a bold attempt to restore the use of dollar coins in everyday commerce. Although its circulation never reached the popularity officials had hoped for, its historical importance continued growing with every passing year as collectors realized they were witnessing the final chapter of America's large-sized dollar coins. Now the story reaches one of the most fascinating chapters of the entire Eisenhower dollar series, the unforgettable year of 1972. At first glance, every 1972 Eisenhower dollar seems nearly identical, yet experienced collectors know that hidden within this single year are several distinct reverse varieties that transformed an ordinary-looking coin into one of the most carefully studied issues in modern American numismatics. Tiny differences in the islands depicted beneath the earth on the reverse created separate design varieties, each produced from different master dies during the manufacturing process. To casual observers, these changes appear almost invisible, but under magnification, they reveal unique characteristics that specialists can immediately recognize. Among these varieties, one became exceptionally desirable because of its far lower production numbers, making it one of the key discoveries for Eisenhower dollar enthusiasts. This unexpected variation proved that even modern coins could contain remarkable secrets waiting to be uncovered by observant collectors. From that moment onward, the 1972 Eisenhower dollar was no longer viewed as merely another circulating coin. It became a puzzle of hidden details, encouraging generations of collectors to examine every example carefully, hoping that an overlooked treasure might be resting unnoticed in an old collection, forgotten coin jar, or inherited family box. Just when collectors believed they understood every secret hidden inside the 1972 Eisenhower dollar, an entirely new level of fascination began to emerge. Experts started comparing thousands of coins under magnification, studying the smallest details that most people would never notice. It became clear that the mint had used different master hubs during production, creating subtle but important design differences. These variations were not announced to the public, meaning millions of people unknowingly carried coins that looked almost identical but were actually produced from different designs. This discovery transformed the hunt for the 1972 Eisenhower dollar into a thrilling challenge. Suddenly, collectors were no longer searching only for beautiful condition. They were searching for the correct combination of design, strike quality, mint mark, and preservation. It proved an important lesson in numismatics. True rarity is not always obvious. Sometimes the most valuable discoveries are hidden in details so small that only patience, experience, and careful observation can reveal them. This realization inspired thousands of enthusiasts to revisit old collections, proving that history often rewards those who are willing to look beyond the surface. The success of the Eisenhower dollar eventually encouraged the United States Mint to think beyond ordinary annual coinage and toward a celebration unlike anything the nation had seen before. As America approached the 200th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, excitement spread across the country. Plans for nationwide celebrations inspired artists, historians, and government officials to create lasting tributes that future generations could treasure. Among the most ambitious ideas was the production of special circulating coins that would commemorate the nation's bicentennial while remaining part of everyday commerce. This decision marked the beginning of a completely new chapter in the Eisenhower dollar's remarkable journey. The familiar reverse featuring the Apollo-inspired eagle would soon give way to an entirely different design created especially for this historic celebration. What followed was one of the most recognizable and beloved commemorative coin programs in American history, forever linking the Eisenhower dollar with the patriotic spirit of the United States Bicentennial, and preparing the stage for the legendary 1976 issues that continue to captivate collectors across the world. A remarkable transformation was now about to take place, one that would forever separate the ordinary Eisenhower dollar from one of the most recognizable commemorative coins in American history. As the United States prepared to celebrate 2 centuries since the signing of the Declaration of Independence, the nation wanted more than fireworks and parades. It wanted a lasting symbol that future generations could hold in their hands. The United States Mint embraced this vision by launching a nationwide design competition, inviting artists to imagine a reverse worthy of the Bicentennial. It was a rare moment when history, patriotism, and artistic creativity came together for a single purpose. After careful evaluation, a powerful design featuring the Liberty Bell placed boldly in front of the moon was selected. This image carried deep meaning, uniting the nation's struggle for freedom in the 18th century with its extraordinary achievements in space exploration during the 20th century. The Liberty Bell represented the birth of American independence, while the moon symbolized mankind's limitless future, making the Bicentennial Eisenhower dollar one of the most meaningful commemorative coins ever created. Instead of displaying a single year like most circulating coins, the Bicentennial Eisenhower dollar proudly carried the dual date 1776-1976. This unique inscription instantly distinguished it from every previous dollar in the series. Although millions of people believed these coins were struck only during 1976, the Mint actually began producing them earlier to ensure enough pieces were available before the nationwide celebrations. As a result, no Eisenhower dollars bearing the date 1975 were ever released. The dual date became a permanent reminder that the coin represented 200 years of American history rather than a single calendar year. Families receiving these dollars often chose to save them instead of spending them, believing they were holding a special piece of history. Children tucked them into keepsake boxes, grandparents passed them down as souvenirs, and collectors carefully preserved brilliant examples, recognizing that these coins marked one of the most significant anniversaries in the nation's story. However, one of the greatest misunderstandings surrounding bicentennial coins began almost immediately. Because so many people saved them, countless owners assumed every bicentennial Eisenhower dollar would eventually become extremely valuable. Over time, stories spread from one generation to another, and ordinary examples were sometimes rumored to be worth astonishing fortunes. In reality, the value of any coin depends on a combination of rarity, preservation, mint variety, striking quality, and collector demand rather than its age alone. While most circulated bicentennial dollars remain affordable collectibles, exceptional examples with flawless surfaces, outstanding strikes, special compositions, or unusual mint errors can command dramatically higher prices than ordinary pieces. This distinction reminds collectors that rarity is created by scarcity and condition, not simply by the date printed on a coin. Understanding this principle separates informed numismatists from those who rely only on rumors and exaggerated stories. Beneath the surface of every authentic bicentennial Eisenhower dollar lies a remarkable manufacturing process that reflects the precision of modern minting. Before a single design could appear, enormous sheets of metal were transformed into perfectly measured blanks through powerful industrial presses. These blanks were carefully prepared to ensure they met exact standards of weight, diameter, and composition before moving toward the striking presses. Engraved dies carrying the intricate designs of both sides then struck each blank with tremendous pressure, forcing every tiny detail into the metal within a fraction of a second. Despite this advanced process, perfection was never guaranteed. Small mechanical variations occasionally occurred, creating doubled images, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, or other unusual characteristics. These accidental differences, though rare, added another exciting dimension to coin collecting because they demonstrated that even the most sophisticated production systems could produce unexpected and highly collectible results. Perhaps the greatest reason the Eisenhower dollar continues to fascinate collectors is that it represents far more than a simple denomination. It stands at the intersection of multiple defining moments in American history. It honors a respected military commander and president whose leadership shaped the modern nation. It celebrates humanity's successful journey to the moon through its original Apollo-inspired reverse. It commemorates 200 years of American independence through the unforgettable Liberty Bell and moon design of the Bicentennial edition. It also marks the conclusion of the era of America's large-sized circulating dollar coins before smaller dollar coins gradually replaced them in later years. Few coins possess such a rich combination of political history, military legacy, scientific achievement, artistic symbolism, and national celebration. Every time a collector examines an Eisenhower dollar, they are not merely looking at an old coin. They are holding a miniature monument to some of the most influential chapters of 20th century America. As the decades quietly passed, the Eisenhower dollar gradually disappeared from everyday transactions, but its reputation among collectors only continued to grow. Coins that were once handed over for groceries, gasoline, or a simple cup of coffee slowly found their way into albums, safes, museum collections, and family heirlooms. Every year, more examples suffered damage, cleaning, scratches, or corrosion, while a much smaller number survived in extraordinary condition. This natural process of survival transformed the finest specimens into increasingly desirable collectibles. Experienced numismatists learned that the real excitement was not simply owning an Eisenhower dollar, it was discovering one that had escaped decades of wear. A sharply struck coin with brilliant original luster, crisp lettering, and untouched surfaces could stand apart from millions of ordinary examples. This relentless search for quality has kept the series alive for generations, proving that the passage of time often creates treasures where none were originally expected. In the end, the Eisenhower dollar represents something far greater than a single denomination. It embodies leadership, remembrance, innovation, patriotism, and the remarkable ability of a nation to preserve its history through everyday objects. From honoring Dwight D. Eisenhower's extraordinary legacy to celebrating humanity's first footsteps on the moon, and finally commemorating 200 years of American independence through the unforgettable bicentennial design. This series captures several defining chapters of modern American history within one remarkable coin. Every inscription, every engraved line, and every carefully designed symbol serves as a silent reminder that coins are witnesses to history, surviving long after the people and events they commemorate have passed into memory. Their true importance lies not only in the metal from which they are made, but in the stories they continue to tell. So the next time an old Eisenhower dollar appears in a forgotten drawer, an inherited collection, or the bottom of a dusty coin jar, pause for a moment before dismissing it as ordinary change. Look beyond its worn surface and imagine the countless hands through which it has traveled, the historic moments it silently witnessed, and the generations that chose to preserve it. Whether it ultimately proves to be a common keepsake or a highly sought-after collector's piece, its greatest value will always be the remarkable journey it represents. The Eisenhower dollar reminds us that history is often hidden in the simplest objects, waiting patiently for someone curious enough to uncover its story. And perhaps that is the greatest treasure of all, not merely the possibility of discovering a rare coin, but the chance to hold a genuine piece of history in the palm of your hand, where the legacy of a nation continues to live through every carefully engraved detail. Step 2. Picture yourself walking into an old family home where a forgotten wooden drawer has remained unopened for decades. Beneath faded photographs, yellowed letters, and worn keepsakes rests a single heavy dollar coin dated 1974. At first glance, it appears ordinary, But history has a remarkable habit of hiding extraordinary stories inside the simplest objects. The 1974 Eisenhower dollar is far more than a piece of currency. It is a silent witness to an era when America was redefining itself after one of the most dramatic decades in its history. Every detail engraved on this coin carries a purpose, from the proud inscription, Liberty, stretching above the portrait, to the powerful national motto, In God We Trust. Turn the coin over, and the majestic eagle descending toward the moon immediately captures attention, symbolizing not only strength, but one of humanity's greatest achievements in space exploration. Although millions of these coins were produced, every surviving example carries its own journey through time, passing from hand to hand while quietly preserving a chapter of American history that continues to fascinate collectors around the world. Long before the 1974 Eisenhower dollar entered circulation, its story had already begun with the remarkable life of Dwight David Eisenhower. Few individuals have shaped modern American history as profoundly as the man whose portrait appears on the front of this coin. Rising from humble beginnings, Eisenhower became the supreme Allied commander during the Second World War, directing one of history's largest military operations with calm determination and strategic brilliance. His leadership earned worldwide respect, and after the war he continued serving his nation as the 34th President of the United States. His presidency emphasized stability, economic development, and national infrastructure while guiding America through a rapidly changing world. Following his passing in 1969, the nation sought a meaningful way to preserve his memory. Rather than constructing another monument of stone, officials decided to create something that ordinary citizens could hold every day. The result was the Eisenhower dollar, a circulating memorial designed to ensure that future generations would never forget the man whose leadership influenced both wartime victory and peacetime progress. Now imagine the atmosphere inside the United States Mint as skilled engravers and sculptors transformed ideas into metal. Designing a coin worthy of Eisenhower's legacy demanded extraordinary precision because every line would remain part of American history for generations. The artists carefully studied photographs, official portraits, and historical references before sculpting the final image. Their goal was not merely to create a recognizable face, but to capture qualities that defined Eisenhower throughout his life: confidence, wisdom, discipline, and quiet strength. On the reverse, they selected an image inspired by the Apollo 11 mission insignia, showing a powerful eagle descending toward the moon while holding an olive branch. This design linked the coin with one of humanity's greatest accomplishments, the successful lunar landing, and reflected the optimism of an era in which technological achievement symbolized national ambition. The combination of a respected president on one side and mankind's journey beyond Earth on the other transformed the Eisenhower dollar into far more than currency. It became a miniature monument celebrating leadership, peace, and exploration all at once. Then came the year 1974, a period filled with political uncertainty, economic challenges, and rapid social change across the United States. While newspapers focused on national events, the Eisenhower dollar quietly continued its role within everyday commerce. Banks distributed thousands of fresh coins, businesses accepted them in transactions, and countless Americans slipped them into pockets, cash registers, and savings jars without imagining they would one day become collectible pieces of history. The coin's impressive size immediately distinguished it from every other circulating denomination, making it impossible to mistake for a quarter or half dollar. Yet its very size also limited its popularity in daily use, because many people preferred lightweight paper currency instead. Despite this practical challenge, the 1974 Eisenhower dollar successfully preserved the tradition of America's large-sized dollar coins, becoming one of the final representatives of a design style that had existed for more than a century. Today, every surviving specimen reflects that unique moment when tradition and modernization briefly existed side by side. But the real fascination begins when collectors look beyond the date itself. To an inexperienced observer, every 1974 Eisenhower dollar appears identical, yet specialists know that hidden differences can dramatically influence desirability. Coins struck at different mints display subtle characteristics in strike quality, surface appearance, and overall preservation. Some examples exhibit exceptionally sharp details where even the smallest features of Eisenhower's hair and the eagle's feathers remain boldly defined. Others reveal evidence of heavy dye wear, softer impressions, or minor production imperfections. These natural differences transform the collecting experience into an ongoing search for excellence rather than simple ownership. Over time, enthusiasts learned that originality mattered greatly. Coins retaining their untouched mint luster, free from cleaning or damage, became increasingly difficult to locate as decades passed. This gradual disappearance of pristine examples gave the 1974 Eisenhower dollar a growing reputation among serious collectors, proving that history rewards preservation just as much as rarity itself. As interest in the 1974 Eisenhower dollar continued to grow, collectors soon realized that not every coin from that year shared the same story. 3 different United States mint facilities participated in production, and each left behind its own chapter in the series. Coins struck in Philadelphia carried no mint mark, Denver issues displayed the familiar D, and San Francisco produced special collector editions bearing the S mint mark. Although they all featured the same portrait of Eisenhower and the majestic Apollo-inspired eagle, experienced collectors quickly noticed subtle differences in strike quality, surface texture, and overall appearance. The San Francisco issues, created especially for collectors, often displayed sharper details and a richer finish, while circulation coins from Philadelphia and Denver reflected the demanding pace of everyday production. These differences transformed a single year's coinage into an exciting field of study, encouraging enthusiasts to compare examples side by side in search of the finest representatives from each mint. Meanwhile, the San Francisco Mint introduced a remarkable collector version that stood apart from ordinary circulation pieces. Unlike the copper-nickel dollars found in everyday commerce, these special editions were struck on a 40% silver composition created specifically for collectors. Their brighter appearance, distinctive weight, and beautiful luster immediately made them desirable among numismatists. Some were produced with brilliant uncirculated finishes, while others received the highly polished proof treatment, where mirror-like fields contrasted dramatically with frosted designs. These coins were never intended for daily spending. Instead, they were carefully packaged and sold directly to collectors who appreciated both their historical importance and superior craftsmanship. Because many remained protected from wear for decades, they often survive today in remarkable condition, representing some of the finest examples of the entire Eisenhower dollar series. Yet one of the most thrilling aspects of the 1974 Eisenhower dollar lies in the unexpected world of mint errors. Even with advanced machinery and strict quality control, the minting process could never eliminate every imperfection. On rare occasions, dies developed cracks that transferred raised lines onto the finished coins. Some planchets were struck slightly off-center, creating dramatic misalignments that immediately caught the attention of collectors. Others displayed double design elements caused by slight movement during the striking process, while a few revealed clipped edges where the metal blank had been cut incorrectly before striking. These unusual pieces were never intentionally created, making them fascinating records of the manufacturing process itself. Because genuine mint errors are naturally scarce and impossible to reproduce exactly, they often attract far greater collector interest than ordinary circulation coins. Each error tells its own story, turning what might seem like a manufacturing mistake into a prized historical curiosity. The passage of time gradually separated ordinary survivors from truly exceptional examples. Every year that passed removed more coins from their original mint-fresh condition as they accumulated scratches, contact marks, cleaning damage, or simple wear through circulation. Those fortunate enough to remain untouched became increasingly desirable. Professional grading services eventually established detailed standards for evaluating preservation, examining every coin under magnification before assigning an official grade. Tiny differences invisible to casual observers could determine whether a coin was considered average or extraordinary. Brilliant original luster, sharp strike quality, clean surfaces, and minimal contact marks all contributed to higher grades. Collectors soon discovered that exceptional preservation could dramatically increase desirability, particularly when combined with scarce varieties or special silver issues. This emphasis on condition transformed the Eisenhower dollar from a simple collectible into a fascinating study of survival across generations. Perhaps the greatest reason the 1974 Eisenhower dollar continues to capture the imagination of collectors is that it symbolizes an important turning point in American coinage. It belongs to the final years before the historic Bicentennial redesign that would replace the familiar Apollo-inspired eagle with the famous Liberty Bell and Moon reverse. In many ways, the 1974 issue represents the closing chapter of the original Eisenhower dollar design, preserving the vision first introduced in 1971, before the nation's attention shifted toward celebrating 200 years of American independence. For collectors, this gives the 1974 coin a special place within the series. It bridges the early years of the Eisenhower dollar with the historic commemorative issues that followed, allowing it to stand as both a continuation of an important tradition and a quiet farewell to one of the most symbolic reverse designs ever placed on a United States dollar coin. As the original Eisenhower dollar series approached its final chapter, the 1974 issue quietly became one of the last opportunities for Americans to carry the famous Apollo-inspired eagle design in everyday circulation before history took a dramatic turn. Although few people recognized its significance at the time, this coin represented the closing years of a design that honored both a legendary president and mankind's greatest journey beyond Earth. Within a short time, national attention would shift toward the approaching bicentennial celebration, introducing an entirely different reverse design. Looking back today, collectors often see the 1974 Eisenhower dollar as a bridge between two remarkable eras, one celebrating American leadership and lunar exploration, and the next commemorating 200 years of national independence. That unique position gives the coin historical importance beyond its face value, connecting two unforgettable chapters of American history within a single series. Hidden within countless collections are 1974 Eisenhower dollars that have never experienced circulation since the day they left the mint. These untouched coins are especially fascinating because they preserve the original brilliance intended by the engravers decades ago. Under proper lighting, their surfaces display an attractive mint luster that seems almost alive as it moves across the fields. The portrait remains crisp, the lettering appears sharp, and the eagle's feathers reveal remarkable detail rarely seen on heavily circulated examples. Collectors value these coins not because they are magically rare, but because time has allowed so few to remain exactly as they were struck. Every fingerprint avoided, every scratch prevented, and every year spent safely protected has contributed to preserving a tiny piece of American history almost exactly as it appeared in 1974. Another remarkable aspect of the 1974 Eisenhower dollar is the emotional connection it creates between generations. For many families, these large dollar coins were set aside as souvenirs rather than investments. Parents placed them in children's keepsake boxes, grandparents tucked them away in envelopes, and collectors carefully organized them inside albums with the hope that future generations would appreciate their historical significance. Decades later, many of these same coins reappear during estate sales or while sorting through inherited belongings. At that moment, the coin becomes more than metal. It becomes a family artifact carrying memories of the people who once preserved it. Its true value often extends beyond any collector's price because it represents continuity, reminding each new owner that history is passed from one generation to the next through objects that quietly survive the passage of time. The world of coin collecting teaches an important lesson that extends far beyond the Eisenhower dollar itself. Every historic coin begins life as ordinary money, created for everyday commerce without any promise of future importance. Only through time, preservation, rarity, and human curiosity does it gradually transform into a collectible worthy of careful study. The 1974 Eisenhower dollar perfectly illustrates this journey. While millions once circulated through banks, stores, and businesses, each passing decade reduced the number of well-preserved examples. Collectors who study these coins today are not simply searching for financial value, they are preserving a tangible record of American history. Every carefully examined detail reflects the craftsmanship of the mint, the technological achievements of the era, and the national ideals engraved into its design. In that sense, every surviving coin serves as a small historical document written not with ink, but with metal. As our journey through the history of the 1974 Eisenhower dollar comes to an end, one truth becomes unmistakably clear. This remarkable coin is far more than a $1 denomination bearing an old date. It honors the life of a respected president, celebrates the triumph of the Apollo era, represents the final years before the famous Bicentennial redesign, and preserves the artistry of one of America's most iconic large dollar coins. Whether discovered in an inherited collection, an old bank envelope, or a forgotten drawer, every authentic 1974 Eisenhower dollar invites us to pause and appreciate the stories engraved within its surface. Some examples may become highly desirable because of exceptional condition, rare mint errors, or special collector editions, while others remain cherished simply for the history they represent. Regardless of monetary value, each coin stands as a lasting reminder that history often survives in the most ordinary objects, waiting patiently for someone curious enough to uncover the extraordinary story hidden within a single dollar. Step 3. From the very first glance, the 1976 Bicentennial Eisenhower dollar feels different from every other American dollar ever created. It is not simply a coin carrying a face value of $1. It is a time capsule forged in metal, created to celebrate 200 years of American independence. Hidden beneath its brilliant design is a story of revolution, sacrifice, innovation, and national pride that stretches across 2 centuries. The dual date, 1976, immediately captures attention, reminding every observer that this coin was never intended to represent just 1 year. Instead, it connects the birth of the United States with a modern nation that had grown into one of the world's leading powers. Every letter, every engraved line, and every carefully designed symbol tells a chapter of that remarkable journey. For collectors, historians, and ordinary citizens alike, this coin represents far more than money. It represents an anniversary that united an entire nation in celebration and preserved its legacy in a form that could pass from one generation to the next. Long before the first bicentennial dollar emerged from the presses of the United States Mint, America was preparing for one of the greatest national celebrations in its history. As the 200th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence approached, government leaders, historians, artists, and citizens wanted the occasion to be remembered forever. Plans extended far beyond fireworks and public ceremonies. There was a shared belief that future generations should possess lasting reminders of this historic milestone. Coins were the perfect choice because they reached millions of people and quietly carried history into everyday life. Unlike monuments that remained fixed in one place, a commemorative dollar could travel across the country, passing through countless hands while telling the story of America's 200-year journey. This vision inspired one of the most ambitious commemorative coin programs ever undertaken by the United States Mint, ensuring that the bicentennial would remain alive long after the celebrations themselves had ended. Imagine the excitement inside the mint as artists competed to create a design worthy of such an extraordinary occasion. Rather than simply modifying the existing reverse, officials organized a national design competition that invited creativity from across the country. The challenge was enormous because the chosen image needed to represent both the nation's revolutionary origins and its remarkable progress over 2 centuries. After careful evaluation, a powerful concept emerged, the Liberty Bell standing proudly before the moon. At first, The pairing seemed unexpected, but its symbolism was extraordinary. The Liberty Bell represented the struggle for independence and the birth of a free nation, while the moon symbolized the incredible scientific achievements of modern America, particularly the success of the Apollo missions. Together, these two icons bridged 200 years of history, reminding every observer that the same spirit of courage, which inspired the revolution, also inspired humanity to reach beyond Earth itself. Then came one of the most distinctive features ever placed on an American circulating coin, the unforgettable dual date, 1776-1976. Unlike ordinary coins that display a single year, the bicentennial dollar proudly honored both the nation's founding and its bicentennial anniversary. Interestingly, although millions of these coins entered circulation during the mid-1970s, none carried the date 1975. Production began early to ensure sufficient quantities for the nationwide celebrations, meaning every bicentennial dollar bears the same historic dual date, regardless of the exact year it was struck. This unusual decision immediately distinguished the coin from every previous Eisenhower dollar and transformed it into an unmistakable symbol of the bicentennial. For millions of Americans, receiving one of these coins in everyday change felt like participating in history itself, encouraging many families to save them as souvenirs rather than spend them. Yet beneath its patriotic appearance lies another fascinating story that continues to attract collectors today. Although the bicentennial dollar was produced in large numbers, not every example shares the same destiny. Coins differ according to their mint of origin, striking quality, composition, preservation, and manufacturing characteristics. Some entered circulation and quickly accumulated scratches, wear, and dull surfaces, while others remained untouched inside government packaging or private collections for decades. A smaller number were struck in special collector finishes using a 40% silver composition, giving them a distinctive beauty and historical appeal. Over time, collectors realized that the true excitement was not simply owning a bicentennial dollar, but discovering one preserved in exceptional condition or displaying unusual mint characteristics. This understanding transformed an ordinary commemorative coin into one of the most studied and admired modern dollar series, where every carefully preserved specimen tells a unique story about America's unforgettable 200th birthday. As millions of bicentennial dollars rolled off the presses, 3 different United States mint facilities became part of this historic production, each contributing its own chapter to the story. Philadelphia produced coins without a mint mark, Denver struck pieces bearing the familiar D, and San Francisco created special collector editions identified by the elegant S mint mark. Although they all carried the same inspiring Liberty Bell and Moon design, experienced collectors soon recognized subtle differences in strike quality, finish, and overall appearance. Philadelphia and Denver focused primarily on coins intended for circulation, while San Francisco became the home of beautifully crafted collector issues. These differences transformed the bicentennial dollar into far more than a single commemorative coin. Instead, it became an entire family of historic issues, each reflecting the unique role of the mint facility that produced it and giving collectors multiple paths to explore within one unforgettable series. Beyond the ordinary circulation pieces existed a far more refined creation designed especially for serious collectors. The San Francisco Mint produced bicentennial Eisenhower dollars struck in a 40% silver composition, giving them a distinctive character that separated them from their copper-nickel counterparts. Their brighter appearance, richer luster, and carefully prepared surfaces immediately revealed the extra attention devoted to their production. Many were issued in attractive government packaging, encouraging owners to preserve them instead of placing them into circulation, because these collector editions avoided years of handling. Many survive today with exceptional detail and remarkable brilliance. Their preservation allows modern collectors to appreciate the artistry of the Liberty Bell, the Moon, and Eisenhower's portrait exactly as the Mint intended nearly half a century ago. These silver editions became lasting symbols of the bicentennial celebration, admired not only for their precious metal content, but also for the craftsmanship they represent. While the coin's patriotic design captures immediate attention, the manufacturing process behind every bicentennial dollar is equally remarkable. Before a single image could appear, large sheets of metal were transformed into perfectly measured blanks through powerful industrial machinery. Each blank was carefully inspected to ensure it met strict standards of weight, diameter, and composition before advancing to the striking presses. Their engraved dies bearing Eisenhower's portrait on one side and the Liberty Bell with the moon on the other descended under enormous pressure, impressing every detail into the metal within an instant. Although the process relied on extraordinary precision, absolute perfection was impossible. As dies gradually wore down through repeated use, subtle differences appeared from one production run to another. These tiny variations would later become fascinating clues for collectors, revealing how each coin was created and preserving evidence of the mint's manufacturing techniques during one of its busiest commemorative programs. Then the unexpected happened. Among the millions of bicentennial dollars produced, a small number emerged with unusual minting characteristics that immediately captured the attention of observant collectors. Some displayed off-center strikes where portions of the design shifted away from their normal position. Others developed dramatic die cracks, creating raised lines across the finished surface. A few revealed double design elements caused by slight mechanical movement during striking, while rare clipped planchets showed portions of the coin missing because the blank itself had been cut incorrectly before striking. These were not intentional varieties, but genuine mint errors created during production. Because they occurred naturally and in limited numbers, they became fascinating pieces of minting history. Every authentic error serves as a permanent record of a unique moment inside the mint, reminding collectors that even the most advanced manufacturing systems occasionally produce extraordinary surprises that later become treasured collectibles. Perhaps the greatest misunderstanding surrounding the bicentennial Eisenhower dollar is the belief that every example automatically possesses enormous financial value simply because it carries the famous dual date. In reality, the world of numismatics follows a far more disciplined system. A coin's desirability depends upon a combination of rarity, originality, preservation, demand, and historical significance rather than age alone. Millions of bicentennial dollars were carefully saved by the public from the beginning, meaning many ordinary examples remain readily available today. However, coins preserved in exceptional mint state condition, certified at the highest professional grades, struck in special silver compositions, or displaying genuine mint errors stand apart from common circulation pieces. This distinction explains why two coins bearing the same date may attract entirely different levels of collector interest. Knowledge, careful examination, and patience ultimately determine which examples become the true highlights of a collection, making the search itself one of the most rewarding aspects of collecting bicentennial Eisenhower dollars. As years quietly passed, after the bicentennial celebrations ended, something remarkable began to happen. The excitement of 1976 slowly faded, but the bicentennial Eisenhower dollar never disappeared from the hearts of collectors. Instead, it gradually transformed from a patriotic souvenir into a respected historical collectible. Coins that had once jingled in pockets or rested in cash registers were now being carefully placed inside albums, protective holders, and family collections. Children who had received these dollars during the celebrations grew into adults who rediscovered them decades later, often realizing that they possessed far more than an old coin. Every surviving bicentennial dollar became a physical reminder of one of America's greatest national anniversaries, preserving memories that no photograph or newspaper could fully capture. Time itself elevated the importance of these coins, proving that history often grows more valuable with each passing generation. Among serious numismatists, one principle soon became more important than any rumor or headline. The condition of a coin can completely transform its desirability. Two bicentennial dollars may have been struck on the same day using identical dies, Yet decades later one might appear worn and ordinary, while the other remains almost exactly as it left the mint. Professional grading specialists examine every detail under magnification, evaluating the sharpness of the strike, the brilliance of the original mint luster, the number of contact marks, and even the smallest imperfections. Coins receiving the highest certified grades are especially admired because so few have survived in virtually flawless condition. Their beauty reflects not only the craftsmanship of the mint, but also decades of careful preservation by owners who protected them from damage. In many collections, these top-quality examples become the centerpiece, demonstrating that perfection is often far rarer than simple age. Another fascinating reason collectors continue searching for bicentennial Eisenhower dollars is the incredible symbolism hidden within their design. The Liberty Bell immediately recalls the birth of American independence, echoing the courage and determination of those who fought to establish a new nation in 1776. Positioned behind it, the moon represents one of humanity's greatest scientific achievements, reminding the world that the same nation born through revolution later reached beyond Earth itself. This artistic combination is unlike any other American circulating coin because it unites two completely different eras through a single image. The bell speaks of freedom earned through sacrifice, while the moon celebrates progress achieved through knowledge, innovation, and exploration. Together they tell a story spanning 2 centuries, making the bicentennial dollar not only beautiful, but deeply meaningful. Every glance at its reverse reveals a reminder that history is built by generations willing to dream beyond the limits of their own time. For many families, the true value of the bicentennial Eisenhower dollar has never been measured by auction records or collector demand. Instead, its greatest treasure lies in the memories attached to it. Countless grandparents carefully placed these coins aside during the bicentennial celebrations, believing that one day their children and grandchildren would appreciate the history they represented. Years later, many of these same coins emerge from forgotten envelopes, old cigar boxes, or carefully preserved collections, carrying with them stories of family traditions, national pride, and personal remembrance. In this way, every bicentennial dollar becomes more than metal. It becomes a bridge connecting generations. Even when 2 coins appear identical, each possesses a unique journey shaped by the people who preserved it and the memories it silently protected throughout the decades. Standing today with a bicentennial Eisenhower dollar in your hand is like holding a miniature monument to American history. It honors the birth of a nation through its unforgettable dual date of 1776-1976, celebrates 2 centuries of independence through the Liberty Bell, remembers mankind's journey to the moon, and continues the legacy of President Dwight D. Eisenhower, whose portrait proudly appears on the obverse. Whether preserved as a family heirloom, admired as a collector's treasure, or studied as an important historical artifact, this remarkable coin reminds us that ordinary objects can preserve extraordinary stories. While only a small number of exceptional varieties, mint eras, or top-grade examples command significant premiums, every authentic bicentennial Eisenhower dollar carries lasting historical importance. Its greatest legacy is not merely its potential value, but the timeless story engraved into its surface, a story of freedom, ambition, innovation, and the enduring spirit of a nation that chose to celebrate its past while looking boldly toward its future. There is one final mystery that continues to surround the 1776-1976 bicentennial Eisenhower dollar, and it is the reason collectors never seem to stop searching. Somewhere inside old collections, forgotten bank envelopes, inherited coin albums, and dusty storage boxes may still rest exceptional examples that have escaped attention for decades. Some were carefully preserved from the day they were issued, while others quietly disappeared into family keepsakes and were never examined by experienced collectors. Every time an old collection is rediscovered, the possibility exists that a beautifully preserved silver issue, a genuine mint era, or an unusually sharp strike could emerge after years of being overlooked. That constant sense of discovery is what gives the bicentennial dollar its lasting excitement. The coin reminds us that history is not always locked away in museums. Sometimes it waits patiently inside ordinary homes, ready to reveal its story to someone curious enough to look closely. In the end, the true greatness of the bicentennial Eisenhower dollar cannot be measured solely by dollars and cents. Its greatest achievement is the way it preserves 200 years of American history within a single piece of metal. It celebrates the courage of a young nation that declared its independence in 1776, honors the leadership of Dwight D. Eisenhower, reflects the optimism of the space age through the moon, and captures the patriotic spirit that united millions during the bicentennial celebration. Every authentic example, whether common or exceptionally rare, carries that remarkable legacy forward. While only certain scarce varieties, certified high-grade coins, silver collector editions, and genuine mint errors may command substantial collector premiums, every bicentennial Eisenhower dollar remains a lasting historical artifact. It is a reminder that coins are far more than currency. They are miniature monuments to the people, achievements, and ideals that shaped a nation. Long after the celebrations of 1976 have faded into history, this extraordinary dollar continues to tell its story, ensuring that the spirit of America's bicentennial lives on every time the Liberty Bell and the moon catch the light in the palm of someone's hand.